Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is a review of Myst Dragon's Guard from Zenescope Entertainment. In this double-sized, oversized issue, Sela Mathers, Orson, and Ivy are on a quest to enlist the disbanded Dragon's Guard to save Myst from the Nosoi, which are the demons that have escaped from Pandora's box. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notification. Your thumbs up helps keep us going, and it's greatly appreciated. So let's get into the credits for Myst Dragon's Guard. The story is written by Alex Worley, art by, we've got a list here, Alessio Mariani, Dario Carrasco, and Gabriel Hardim. Colors by Leonardo Pacioretty, letters by Taylor Esposito, and the main cover, cover A, is drawn by Igor Vitorino. So how did we get into this spot? So Sela Mathers was basically doing a tour of the different realms now that she's back from the dead. And she's sort of figured out that dark forces or dark entities are infecting people and taking over the realms and trying to destroy the realms for basically evil purposes. And she eventually uh, sought out the help of Orson, who used to be a member of the Dragon's Guard, and he reluctantly decided to help her after the demons followed her to his retirement home of sorts and destroyed it. And he says, "Well, I've got no choice because they're going to hunt me no matter what I do." And so they go off together and with the help of Ivy, who is a sort of a wood nymph with forest-like powers. So that's where we left off, which leads us into this oversized issue. And in this issue, Sela Mathers, Orson, and Ivy, they're going through Myst looking for a specific cave where Orson can commune with the Dragon Guard who have absconded to this alternate dimension called the Dragon's Fire Vortex. And we'll get to why they did that in a minute. But they encounter three more refugees by the name of Gornt, Elpis, and Rin. I know that's a tongue twister, but there they are. And these are folks of assorted powers and abilities who are refugees from towns that have been destroyed by the Nosoi, which are the three demons that we saw in previous issues: Morbus, Pestis, and Tapis. Uh, they eventually find the entrance to the portal, and when they step into the circle of communion, which only Orson can do, he opens up effectively a Zoom call, if you want to call it that, to the Dragon's Fire Vortex, and they ask for help, which the High Commander of the Dragon's Guard says no. And in that moment, we get a flashback to why that is the case. Apparently, once upon a time, there was a member of the Dragon's Guard by the name of Lady Arya, and she was corrupted by honor and duty and laws to the extreme, such that she felt that freedom was the last bit of opportunity for people to become evil and break the law. So she turned into I don't know even what you would call it, a super fascist. I'm not sure exactly how you would describe that, but basically they felt that she had become corrupted and radicalized, if you will, and that created a civil war amongst the Dragon Guard. And so after the fight was done and lots of Dragon Guard lost their lives fighting brother against brother, sister against sister, they said, the Dragon's Guard are, with our powers and our strengths and our training, are too dangerous to be left among the realms, and so we're going to essentially uh, put ourselves under house arrest within the Dragon's Fire Vortex, because if we become corrupted again, too many people are going to die. And so now we get into this push pull between Orson, who is honor bound to obey the High Commander, but at the same time recognizing that Sela and her friends need all the help they can get to save the realms, because what good is obeying honor and rules if the people you're sworn to protect die? And that sets the dramatic undertone for the entire issue, especially with Orson, who's sort of caught between conflicting priorities. So they leave, and eventually they find out that there is actually a fourth member of the Nosoi that they haven't seen yet, character by the name of uh, uh, Pestilence, I think is the way you would say it. I'm not exactly sure. Some of these names are. I'm sorry, Macius. Macius is the way I say it, like emaciated. Um, and he's some sort of bringer of the dead. Anyway, the people go off. They decide that they're not, they're hopeless, but they have really no choice but to try and keep fighting. Orson eventually comes to his senses and says there's no sense in following honor and following the rules if everybody's dead. So he said, I have another plan to open up the Dragon's Vortex because I saw in our last meeting that some of the Dragon's Guard would be willing to follow us before the High Commander sort of cut off the call. So they go off to this high mountain where you can speak into the realms and whisper an incantation that would open up the Dragon's Fire Vortex portal again. But before they get there, they find out one of the member of their team is actually um, not Pestilence, Macius in disguise, and big fight breaks out. But just before all things turn bleak, Orson does manage to whisper the incantation with a little help from Elpis, who is sort of a water sprite, and they open up, and the Dragon Guard members who would be willing to fight come through, and there's a big battle, and all the Nosoi are killed and basically sent packing back to whatever hell-like dimension they come from for now. And then that's it. But the issue ends on a little bit of a foreshadowing that maybe the commander's motives for being bound by honor to protect innocent people is not all that it's cracked up to be, for a very specific reason. Won't give away too much, but it's a good way to end the issue with a heavy dose of foreshadowing. Interesting fact about this issue, as far as where did Sela Mathers come from? She's supposed to be dead. Where'd she come from? Well, if you've been catching up or following along with Zenescope's the last couple of years of of Lovecraft-inspired storytelling, you'll know that a couple members of the Musketeers found Sela Mathers resurrected, but without her memory, in the dream world of Unknown Kadath, where that whole story comes from, with Randolph Carter and the underground and the ghouls and everything else that are part of that type of Lovecraft story. And they brought her back to Earth, where she eventually regained her memory, and now she's basically doing a walking tour of the realms as a former guardian of the Nexus. So that's where she comes from. So what do we like about this issue? It's a big epic fantasy adventure. It feels big, it looks big, and there are stakes because people do die, both good and evil. So you felt like the conflict was meaningful, and the ending has a good dose of foreshadowing that gets you interested for what happens next. So on the major tick boxes of what you want out of a big epic fantasy issue, you get all the big points correct. So that's the type of stuff we like to see. What didn't we like about Myst Dragon's Guard? You introduce a bunch of new characters in this particular issue, but you barely get to know some of them. So they sort of act as cannon fodder, yes, but not really. Some of them are pivotal to the plot, others are not. But you sort of get the sense that they're just there to be used and then thrown away. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're going to introduce these eclectic, very distinctive characters, you want to get to know them a little bit better or find out what they're all about. And at least for one or two of them, you barely know anything about them. And so that was just kind of a bummer that it feels like the characters were taking up space when they were just there for a particular plot point, or in some cases, not at all. Let's talk about the art for Myst Dragon's Guard. The art is generally okay. As you saw from the credits, there are a lot of artists that work on this one, which is typical for Zenescope comics that are oversized or double-sized or annual. You can see the transitions, which is a bummer. You don't want to see those transitions, but you can notice them. And the art quality from one artist to the next, they're not on the same level. It'd be different if they were both on the same quality. Two or three of the artists were on the same quality level, but their styles are different. In this case, their styles are different, and the quality from one to the other is not at the same level. So it's some panels look flat, some panels look not terrible, but just like plain and uninspired, and you just sort of have to go with it. I mean, generally speaking, it's okay art, but not the best and not consistent. So what are our final thoughts on Myst Dragon's Guard? Good good to great fantasy adventure. You get great large epic style battles. People die so that the action feels meaningful and impactful, and it ends on a solid tease for things that are coming up in the future. What we didn't like on the flip side is you had some characters that felt kind of pointless or just there to be thrown away, and the art was inconsistent. So generally speaking, not mediocre, but I would just say so-so. Therefore, we're going to give Myst Dragon's Guard a solid 7 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this review, but before you leave, please like, share, comment, subscribe to Comical Opinions for more comic reviews and analysis every week. I'm Gabe Hernandez, your publisher in EIC. You have a great day.